There are, I don't know, 5, maybe 6. I haven't counted how many topics I have potentially lined up today. At the moment, this show has this thumbnail and is titled this generic name, Handle Any Windows Computer Problem Any Day. It's the show number 699 in this series. And I saw a SpeakerBot audio confirmation, and I heard my own audio confirmation, so that is done. What is all of this stuff? Well, now I have some topics that I have to bring to the table, but aside from that, there is the one most important topic for this show. And I'm going to say that last because I'm going to give chat a chance to say what that is, because I'm trying to teach them what that most important topic is. So here's some things. Let's see. Well, there's a printer for a client. We could unbox that and set it up. There's this computer here, which has a hard drive on it, and that hard drive is being tested right now by SpinRite. It's the second drive that I have tested with SpinRite, and that is actually Ken Stout's drive. And I could have stopped the test yesterday. The conclusion is in, so I can show you what that looks like and show you what I learned from it. Is that a waste of time? Well, you be the judge. I've got this 8 computers to set up for a client. Not going to do that during today's show. Chill out, relax. But I can tell you about my hybrid off-book plan for rolling those out. Hint, I won't be doing the out-of-box experience on any of those computers. I will not be creating a local account on any of those computers. Yet all of them will wind up with the correct local account for my clients. And then over here, I have 3 B-Link computers that have been working on this past week that I was also doing a different off-book Maverick hybrid approach to setting them up for my client. There were 3 things that went wrong so badly. You might be interested in the story of what those 3 things were, if I can remember them at that time. What else do I have around here? Oh, I've got this. I got this guy that I have not tried yet, and this guy that I have not tried yet. This is for testing the power capabilities of USB adapters, AC adapters, and USB cables to see how much power they're capable of, or to test the power of devices to see how much power they are using. It doesn't work anymore, it's broken. And this one has a potentiometer on it that you can dial up the resistance. So you connect a power source and a USB cable to that meter, and then on the other side of the meter you connect this. That would increase the amount of power draw on the cable and the AC adapter. I have not even done a first test on that. Also, I got a story about one of these that totally trashed my productivity this last week. I'm going to go pick it up. Takes a licking and keeps on ticking. Takes a ticking and keeps on licking. All right. So I think is there anything else around here before I go to chat? I want to see if anybody in chat has identified what do I consider the most important topic. Yeah, it looks like that's everything I had laid out for me because I don't trust my memory to run through all that stuff. So I'm going to come over here and pop out chat. We'll say hello to the peoples. Now, if you came to this video because of the thumbnail and the title, and it's different than what I just showed, then yeah, you might want to scrub forward to find the place that you're interested in, or maybe I'll update something in the description. Sometimes I put in timestamps to get you through to the right place that you're interested in. So here I'm coming over to chat, and I just hit my scroll button. I'm going to look first for oranges. John Williams says hello, hits me an orange. Looking for other oranges. There's some true laugh out loud, Ken Stout says. I don't know what that was for. Rick Lakes, hello. Chris Garrett, hello. Oh, wait a minute. Before the beginning of the show. Oh, yeah, it is here. Oh, Ken Stout. Ken Stout now shows as first. Yeah, at the beginning of before the show started, actually, Rick Lakes showed up as number 3. Chris Garrett showed up as number 2, and Ken Stout came in as number 1. How does that happen? But Rick and Chris have lost their positions. Apparently it's because other people took them over. Somehow Ken Stout has held on to number 1. Don't know why. We're still trying to figure this out. Now, the points that YouTube awards in its XP is different than the points that I award. Rick Lakes, he says he's not home. Now, if he was in, let's see, West Virginia, is that it? Almost home, West Virginia. And I think, did I get the lyrics right? No, he's in Duluth, Minnesota. Minnesota. I can't do the accent. Selden Ball, hello. I don't think Rick Lakes does the accent either. For Minnesotians. Rick is watching me at a friend's house. Well, hello, friend. And Rick. Hi. Hi. Scott, hello. I think this XP nonsense is rigged. Rigged, I tell you. Ran Israel, hello, everybody. Whenever, wherever you are. I was a little dyslexic there, I guess. I should zoom this up a little bit. Now I'll put my auto scroll on. There's some DougBot telling you what happens, what kind of things you can do with StreamerBot. Geez, Doug, hoarding boxes. Oh, you should see out in my kitchen right now. I've got my second round of boxes to break down and put out into recycling. The first batch of them, I cut them down so I don't have to jam them into my recycle bin, because if I do that, the truck picks the thing up and shakes it twice and they don't come out. So I actually cut them down to be smaller and taped them together. Really, you have to work at recycling cardboard? I did that when I was in high school. I got my neighborhood to save their cardboard boxes for me, and I would go pick them up, and I would take them on my dad's station wagon to the recycling center, and I get $30-40 for a carload of cardboard and newspapers. I'd also get them to bundle their newspapers for me and leave them out on the street, because I was entrepreneuring when I was in high school. Yeah, baby. Can't believe my dad let me do that with his station wagon. Darren Gilholm, hello. Phil Stodd. Hello. Let's see. Priceless. LOL, it's Ken Stout, so I will stop now. I guess that's when I think I talked about his drive there, I suppose. Something there was priceless to him. I don't know what. Phil Stodd says, spin right, question mark. Yeah, I don't know what your point there is. Yeah, I've got spin right on my second capture port right now. I can bring it up and show you what it looks like. And tell you about the experience so far. I know don't use it for data recovery if you got data at risk. $300 data recovery. That's the place to go. But this is interesting. To people who are interested in technical topics, even if it might not have a practical purpose. Do I know you at all? Hello, whatever that is. Ken Stout, John Williams, I am Groot. Oh, wait a minute. That was, he said the Groot thing earlier, didn't he? That's at 11:02. He made it rhyme up here. Oh, yeah. Here, he's practicing his ability for rhyming. Shoot, I am Groot. I don't know. All right, I'll give him some points for that. 8.5 points. That's what it's worth. Continuing. Let's see. What do we got? It's humid enough for you. I'm on a kick about humidity. I bought these 3 of these guys to show the temperature and humidity because I got to thinking, it's probably counterproductive for me opening up the doors and windows in the morning, theoretically to let the house cool down. And I think I'm right about that because outdoors I have 80% humidity. Indoors, since I've kept the house closed up for 3 or 4 days now, I'm down to 38% humidity right now in this room. Kind of varies a little bit. And less humidity is supposed to be cooler. So if I let the cool air in the morning, but raise the humidity in the house, the air conditioner has to work harder in order to get me to feel comfortable. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out with my utility bills. That was a true laugh out loud. Whatever it was, I don't remember. Jeff Raymond, hello. That is usually used to add a load to say rechargeable battery to determine the capacity. That's not why I bought it. But usually used to add a load to say a rechargeable battery to determine their capacity. Well, this is only going to work through USB, so you would have to somehow put a battery in a device that has a USB output. So maybe this device doesn't quite do that, but hello, Greg M. Nice to see you. Doug's too busy and falling apart. That must be when I dropped that part. Falling apart or falling parts? Let's see. This thing jumps on me when I get close to the end. I'm trying to get back where I was at. Got to speed up a little bit. Yeah, I do. When you dropped your item out of the box. Oh, the laughed out loud minute was when I dropped the item. That was a true laugh out loud. Okay. Rechargeable battery, falling apart. Clearly things are falling apart. All of that's when I dropped that. I would do UPS looking for 2-week-old order they lost. It's probably a conversation. Ken's drive. Phil Stodd says, Ken Stout's drive and incur the ire of some other creator. Whatever. Tim Cruz, you went live late today? No, I didn't. Today was my normal Saturday time. What planet are you living on, Tim? 11 a.m. Pacific time is the time I've always been on Saturdays. I disabled the purple crowns in YouTube chat from Greg. Yeah, you can do that, right? So if you don't like seeing those crowns, come up. I think it's what here to this, where the crown shows in the upper right. Is that where it is? Somehow to disable that? No, not there. Is it on the 3-dot menu? No, somebody will have to tell you where to do that. I don't see where to do that. Maybe the menu shows up different than me. Almost Heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Chattanooga River. He's in Brainerd. Brainerd, Texas? Is that where Rick is now, at a friend's house? See, Ken would know that because there's a whole community that revolves around the Ken Stout Live show and spend mounds and mounds of time together on Zoom without being on YouTube. Develop real good friendships there. Not Duluth. He's in Brainerd. Are you saying Brainerd? Minnesota? Is that near Duluth? And he's not actually in Duluth? Because I've been thinking of him as in Duluth. Maybe it's just Minnesota that is the same place as my brother Tom. I don't know if you're saying he lives in Brainerd or if he's at a friend's house that's in Brainerd. Is Brainerd in Texas? I want to say Brainerd, Texas. Try to figure out YouTube leaderboard. It'll make you crazy. Tim has an issue with his Dell laptop. What is your issue, Tim? Let's see the iPhone cam and see it. Oh, I think he's asking about the boxes in the kitchen. Yeah, I could be have my arm twisted to that. Oh, here's what his issue. My hotkeys aren't working like brightest and the letter G ultra performance. Yeah, I don't know what you mean. My hotkeys aren't working like brightest or brightest and the letter G ultra performance. Replace the keyboard. But brightest, you're talking about a visual thing. Are you having a problem with the keys working? Hotkeys sounds like you press the hotkeys and they aren't working. So maybe hotkeys, he's referring to Shift, Control, Alt as the hotkeys. Booster keys would probably be a better word. So my process for that is rapidly tap each of them multiple times, trying to unstick them. They could be stuck inside the keyboard where you don't see it or feel it on the keys themselves, but rapidly tapping them over and over. Disconnect the keyboard and reconnect it to the computer, even whether it's wireless or wired. So those are just my guesses, but you got to be a little more specific. Zippo, you get Zippo dollars for recycling cardboard. I don't know if that's still a thing here to get money for recycling cardboard or not. The only thing people are trying to collect for recycling here is like bottles, cans, the things that have the not just the recycle, but it has to be the California CRV stamp on them. John Downey says, I just got here. Did you see my email about printer plugged into Ethernet? Not urgent. Thank you for asking that, John. It occurs to me that I did not go check on emails that I might have stacked up. I haven't found it yet in chat where anybody's guessed what the most important topic is. If you did, give me a read chat, please, to point me to, well, just do a Control-C copy and then !C and paste, because I'm about to reveal it. That was John Williams. Did it just come in this morning? Very recently, since I last looked at email? No. I don't think I do see that, John. Let's see. I'm going to try a search. He said,
Read chat, please.
Let's see, where was it? John Downey, Ken says. Where did I lose it? Where would he? Oh, it was the read chat, please. It's down here. Most important topic is Doug, all about the Doug.
Read
Okay.
chat, please.
Okay, let's do this. Ken Stout, minus 2.3 points for that. Sent it Monday, he says. Printer plugged into Ethernet. That sounds familiar. So I did a Control-C of that, going back to my email, searching that specifically. No. So I'll go look at Monday emails. Monday. Da, 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 da. That was the 21st. Scrolling, trying to get 21st. All right. Oh, there it is. Oh, I see. I left it as unread so that would trigger me to go back and flag it for my next show. And it's still unread. So apparently I never got around to doing that. And it scrolled off of my list because I get too many emails for it to still show on the first page. So I'm going to put that into a folder for today. And then we're going to go to that right now. Nobody gave me a read chat, please. So they still don't know what I consider to be the most important topic on these shows. Really? How many times have I said it? Questions from viewers about problems they're having with their computers. Always. The most important. I'm guessing nobody guessed it. Ken says I've said it 18 times. Yeah, I have. All right, so here we go. Here's his email. Does not reveal his email address. Let's see, I'm going to try scrolling that a little bit. Nope, I can't scroll it. I'll do this. All right, that should work. You're so vain. You probably think this show is about you. I'm trying to scrunch it down so I can keep my picture-in-picture on screen, right? Doug, a decade ago or more, dyslexic again, Mike Smith suggested that for ease and or speed of printing, your printer should be hardwired to an Ethernet connection. I had a wireless printer that I was constantly having to troubleshoot to get it to print. Recently, I purchased an HP OfficeJet Pro 8139E with an Ethernet port, which I use for printing. I am using Ethernet over power from my router, and printing begins approximately 1 minute after the connection is established. Any thoughts before I start experimenting? Thanks, John Danny. Intriguing question for a few reasons. Let's start with Mike Smith suggested for ease and or speed of printing should be hardwired. Absolutely agree to that. I'd always prefer the printer to be hardwired. First choice is USB. Second choice is Ethernet. Third choice would be wireless. If there's a compelling reason to go with wireless, I have no problem with it. We'll do it, but there is more things that can go wrong, more things that can break about that. As for the speed of printing with wireless, could be a problem depending upon how the quality of your wireless, whether there's interference, whether it makes a speed. If you have a good modern Wi-Fi and a good modern rest of your equipment, whether there's a difference in speed between USB and Wi-Fi, I don't know. But I'd always find it more stable, reliable, USB, second choice Ethernet, third choice Wi-Fi. With any particular setup of computer and network cabling and your switches, your router, your environment, you might be perfectly fine going straight to Wi-Fi. But if you're just taking all things unknown, the safest bet is USB. Some printers won't set up very well with USB, and they insist that you use some other method to set them up. Some printers insist that you use cell phone to set them up. But sometimes there are ways around that, but they won't make it easy to discover that, because they want to make you go through the cell phone app because they get extra sales opportunities there. So absolutely agree with Mike on that. Now, he had a wireless printer that was constantly having to troubleshoot to get it to print. That's a red flag right there. Avoid Wi-Fi. The problems you were having with it could have been the fault of the printer, or it could have been the fault of something else. I think it's a really, really good choice to get away from Wi-Fi. Don't even try to narrow down which it is. Recently, I purchased an HP OfficeJet Pro 8139E with an Ethernet port, which I use for printing. So what he uses for printing is the printer, not the Ethernet port. The printer happens to have an Ethernet port. Presumably, yeah, he's using the Ethernet port. However, this is a gotcha. Depending upon how accurate this sentence is. I am using Ethernet over power from my router, and printing begins approximately 1 minute after the connection is established. So John Downey, riddle me this. When you say Ethernet over power, what that means to me is that you have an Ethernet line from your router going to an adapter that's plugged into an electrical outlet of your house, not an Ethernet port on the wall, but an electrical outlet in your house's electrical wiring. And then somewhere else in the house, you have another electrical outlet where you have another one of those Ethernet over power adapters that has an Ethernet cable going to your printer. Is that what you mean by Ethernet over power? Because that's what it means to me.
Read chat, please.
And he says that's right. That is exactly what he's doing. Okay. Now, I'll bet in the audience, there's a significant number of people that did not catch that the first read through. If you did catch that the first read through and realize that's what he meant, put a 1 in chat. If you're willing to admit that you did not catch that, put a 0 in chat. He's doing printer through power over, Ethernet over power, not power over Ethernet. That's a different animal. That's when you have Ethernet switches that are PoE, power over Ethernet. They actually send power through the Ethernet cable to be able to provide power to IoT devices that can run on 5 volts of power. So let's go show what people are admitting to as far as understanding that. Yeah, Greg M. did understand it. He caught that. Jim says those adapters are notoriously slow. Phil Stodd 0, Tim 0. Selden 1, it suggested to me its own problems. David 0, Danielle 0. So several people did not catch that first read through. And Rand thought he meant power over Ethernet. Different. Ken Stout says it's all Greek to me. Yeah, so the party de federa bacana. Fisneama tatara. Yeah, that was just babbling. Don't try to understand it. Don't rewind. Don't rewind. Don't rely on closed captioning. That was just babbling. And it wasn't Greek. Doman 2000 uses them a lot, especially to bring Ethernet to garden shed. He's using AC adapter to provide a wired connection. That is slow. But you must use them strategically, more for convenience than speed. The speed sucks. Yeah, so that really is my feedback. John, when you were using wireless, you were not doing Ethernet over power. So you've taken a situation that can be problematic, wireless printing, or a printer that's connected by wireless to your network, and you swap that out for Ethernet over power. Now, when your message originally came in, I did go ask Gemini about it. Let's see, Ethernet over power. Let's go see. How well do you think Gemini did? You can do in chat on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 meaning poor, 5 meaning good. How well do you think Gemini handled this subject? I'll give you a minute to start putting in your answers. Well, Tim compliments my blue shirt. Thank you, Tim. I am seeing several 2s. 4 people give 2s. Not high confidence, Jimmy. My nickname for Gemini. John Downey, 4.5. The very person who asked the question is expecting 4.5 out of Gemini. Jiminy Christmas. Jiminy Cricket. Such a Doug. Do this that way. Bet you think the show is about you, don't you? How does speed of Ethernet over power compare to Ethernet cable connections? The phrase speed of Ethernet over power compared to Ethernet cable connections is a bit redundant. My eyebrows went up when I read that. As the speed of Ethernet is largely determined by the Ethernet cable connection and the associated networking hardware. However, if the question intends to compare the overall theoretic capabilities of Ethernet technology with the practical speeds achieved through various Ethernet cable types, here's a breakdown. And it talks about Ethernet technology speeds, 100 megabits, 1 gigabit per second, 10 gigabits per second, 25 gigabits per second. Ethernet cable categories, what are we understanding here? Gemini has totally missed the question, totally not understood the question. When comparing Ethernet to wireless Wi-Fi content, wired Ethernet generally overpowers Wi-Fi in terms of speed, consistency, and reliability. So this is where it's saying that my question does not make sense. My question does not compute. How does speed of Ethernet overpower compared to Ethernet cable connections? I think it was taking this as overpower as a verb. How does Ethernet push too much power to the connections? I think is the way Gemini was understanding this. Factors affecting speed. Okay, so then I said, what I mean by Ethernet over power is when there is a device that allows you to send Ethernet signals over the power lines in your home. Gemini says, "Oh, you're referring to power line Ethernet. That's my term for it." Gemini saying, "That's my term for it." Also known as home plug, power LAN, Ethernet over power lines. This technology uses your home existential wiring to transmit network data. Clever solutions extending your internet connection to areas where Wi-Fi signals are weak. Yada yada yada. Tells us how it works, first and second adapters, and talks about some comparisons between the speed. Now, there is something that it came up with in here that I don't know that I agree with, and some of you have already disagreed with. When Powerline Ethernet is a good solution, hard to wire, Wi-Fi dead zones, convenience, streaming, saying when it's good. Yeah, here's again where it thinks I'm using the word overpower as a verb. Probably would have helped if I put a space between the two words, but it was voice to text dictation. So it wasn't me that didn't put the space. A direct Ethernet cable, in terms of raw speed, a direct Ethernet cable almost always provide a more robust, faster connection for demanding applications. I think it's quite obvious. The reason why you're having that delay of 1 minute before it starts printing is there is a speed problem. Now, somewhere in here, it said that the performance should work fine over Ethernet over power. But then it also in here says that if you're going through a circuit breaker, if your two outlets are not on the same circuit, and when you figure out what circuit breaker your first outlet is on, find which circuit breaker turns that outlet off. Does that same circuit breaker turn off the outlet at the destination? If it does not, then that means the Ethernet signal has to go through your power box panel, circuit breaker panel, and get to the other device, the other circuit, and then go out. So that may cause some degradation. Then the amount of power going through either of those circuits might be different. If you find all the devices that are on those circuits and unplug them all, do you get better performance? I think you're kind of wasting time, really. I don't think you're going to get much better. I think perhaps a better solution, if you couldn't do a direct Ethernet connection, a better solution might have been to improve the Wi-Fi. Now, another solution you might be interested in is putting another Wi-Fi access point near the printer, and that has probably a better antenna than the antenna that's built into the printer or your old printer. So you have your printer connected by Ethernet to that Wi-Fi access point. That Wi-Fi access point is connected by Wi-Fi to your Wi-Fi router. So there you have Wi-Fi signal going through the house instead of through the electrical signals, and you have an Ethernet connection for the printer, because the printer's Wi-Fi capabilities is probably not going to be as good as any halfway decent or three-quarter way decent Wi-Fi access point. Lots of different devices on the market. Maybe people in chat have a recommendation for that. And Zavine Menor's got a co-pilot feedback on this subject, apparently. Let's go see what he's got for us. And he says, how does speed of Ethernet over power compare to Ethernet cable connection? Oh, excellent question. Prompt. It's an excellent prompt. It's called a prompt when you ask a question in an AI. Ethernet over power, also known as power line networking, and traditional Ethernet cables both aim to deliver wired internet but they differ significantly in speed, reliability, and consistency. Okay, here's Ethernet. 150 megabits per second to 10 gigabits per second. Powerline adapter 150 megabits per second to 350. Now, how much does a printer actually utilize, though? I don't know that a printer cares about anything over 10. Maybe he's got a question to Copilot about that. Max theoretical speed up to 40 gigabytes and up to 2 gigabits. Latency very low, moderate. The latency would be a significant factor in how long it takes to start printing. The latency is when a printer starts actually receiving and understanding the data that's coming through. And then the data that's coming through to print that full page, that's actually data. That's not latency anymore. Latency was how long it takes to establish the communication, as I understand it. Somebody might correct me or refine my definition on that. Reliability and setup. When power line might be useful. Maximum speed and reliability. Yeah, so that was very useful and helpful there. Thank you, Zavi. I can't even see my chat window. Where's my chat window? Here, chat. Here, chat. Where are you? It's over here. No. Did I lose my chat? Here, chat. Come here. Come to Papa. Yeah, I don't know why I lost it. Let's go get it back. There was Zivi. Good contribution, Zivi. Let's throw him some love, some points, pointavos in the positive direction. Now, how about how much does printers need? See, printers used to run on USB 3.1. Yeah, but they've gotten more complex in their capability. I don't know if that's a good way to answer it. Is anybody going to give us a link for how much, particularly that printer, how much speed it needs? Found the chat room. Hey, let's give Doug some points. No. Yeah, Wi-Fi extender instead of Ethernet over power. I'd agree with that. Wi-Fi printers take some time to start printing, is my experience. Yeah, I think so too. In addition to the XP rabbit hole, because you're looking at how much chat interaction of effects affects your channel. With the A. The word with the A is the right choice there. Huh. Interesting question, Ken. But I'm not going to switch to that. I'm not going to jump to that now. I'm not going to try to catch up on all this. So if there's, if anybody actually put something in there to respond to one of the questions that I asked, please use an exclamation mark C. Otherwise, we're going to move on to a different topic. Of the topics that I listed, is there anything you want? Look at that. I can only get to the last 15 minutes of chat. Stupid YouTube. Lawn Dog asking if I read his comment. Lawn Dog, I wouldn't notice you asking this, except I happened to glance at it. My comment regarding USB 1. Yeah, I did. I actually spoke about it already. I did do that. Lawn Dog, you're not watching the show. You're not listening, are you? I did. Or somebody's printers used to work on 1.0. I did talk about that. You totally missed it because you're thinking about what you're going to say, aren't you? Aren't you? Yeah, I know you. I got your number. Let's go see if it was his that I was responding to, because I'll recognize it. Yeah, that was exactly it. I did when I saw that, and I did talk about it. You totally missed it because you're too busy thinking about what you're going to say. Or actually dictating. All right. Nobody's trying to get me to something else. Lost it? Doug lost it? I don't know what that was about. Oh, lost the chat room. All right. I think we about beat that to death. We did that. We did that in such a good session. I might excerpt that and publish that as a separate standalone video, because videos that have a specific topic, they do so much better. Lawn Dog says, I know you did, Doug. You said USB 3.1. You're saying I said it wrong? I didn't intend to. Different mood out in the garage. Different mood or different mode? Yeah, nobody came up with anything about how much speed printers need to operate properly. I'm in a different mode. Yep, I was right. It wasn't mood, it was mode. Using my cell phone, but I still have my wits about me. Oh, good for you. And I suppose you're dictating from your phone, right? Are those computers, all those computers for one business? No. These computers are for a pest control company. I've already installed 2 B-Link computers for them. This is 3 more. And then after that, we've probably got another 3 or 4 to do. I put the, hang on. I set up this nano KVM at their office, and I set up their base computer, what I call their base master computer. I set that up initially here, did what I could here, then took it to their office, connected it to their network, and then worked with it remotely to finish the setup. Then the second computer, I see that, Lawn Dog. The second computer I set up with this, and remotely, I successfully booted the computer to Macrum Reflect flash drive before doing the out-of-box experience on that second computer. And then from another flash drive connected to the computer, I restored a full backup image from the first computer that was configured to be used as a base image computer. There's some special things I do for that. And I successfully got the second computer completely configured. And then my contact person at my client's office took that computer and installed it at the user's desk. And it worked beautiful. I don't think I had any callbacks from them for additional. Yeah, I had one, because that person is the only one that had a brother printer directly connected to their computer. So I installed the driver for it. Other than that, it worked beautiful. I had used Fab's Auto Backup to take the profile from their old computer, restored it to the new computer. So all of their favorites, all of their bookmarks, all of their desktop icons, everything was just there. And it just worked. So then I leave this device there because I know they're going to buy more computers. These 3. Week after week after week. Do you have the new computers yet? No, he hasn't ordered them yet. No, he hasn't ordered them yet. 3 $150 computers. 2 months later, the computers are here, ready to do. So I talk my contact through connecting the next computer to this device. Then I connect remotely to one of their in-office computers after hours and try to access the computer and realize, oh, it's gone to sleep, because you connect a computer, turn it on, and the out-of-box experience is going to go to sleep if you let it sit long enough. So once they're back in the office, I ask them to press the power button to turn it back on. And then I connect remotely to one of the other computers in the office, use the browser to browse to the computer. My intention is to just do the restore operation and establish the log me and rescue remote connection, and do the rest of what I need to do remotely. The rest of what I need to do remotely is to take the Fab's Auto Backup for that other user and restore it to this computer. And I can transfer that through the network once I have a functioning Windows operating system. At the beginning of today's show, I said 3 major problems with these computers that trashed my productivity, and this is one of them. When I connected through the web browser of one of their other computers to this device, I was able to log into it, although by then I had forgotten my credentials. I got the credentials on a label here. I don't care if you are able to see it. Nobody could access that through the internet. And I have it labeled on the side, and I didn't have that anywhere here that I could figure out or find. And I had forgotten the credentials because it's not the default credentials. So again, I had to wait for somebody to assist. I said, could you go take a picture of that and send it to me? So he did that. So then I was able to connect to the Nano KVM, and I'm at the out-of-box experience. The first thing it asks for is language. I can't click on anything. My clicker, no worky. I go up to the reset. It's got some 3-letter acronym for it. I don't remember what it is. It's not a 3-letter acronym I normally would use for a mouse. HID, Human Interface Device. Reset, Human Interface Device. That didn't bring it back. So I had them power cycle the subject computer, power cycle the Nano KVM, log in again, still doesn't work. I tried have my client using his mouse and keyboard to see if he can't click on anything. I know we got 3 computers to use. By this time, I've already had enough things not work right to say, this isn't working. I'm just going to, I want to have these 3 computers in my lab. I'll work on them here. So he says, yeah, fine, come on over. I'll see you in a little bit. So I start getting ready to go. Phil Stodd says, road trip. I start getting ready to go. I'm headed out to my laundry room, which has a door connecting to my garage. Before I open the door, I remember, my car's in the shop. I don't have a car. I was planning to be able to work on this today. I could do all this remotely. So I was going to be able to be productive while I don't have a car. John Williams says, OMG. Oh my God. Yes. Productivity problems, right? So I call my client, tell him, I can't come. I don't have a car. And he says, that's okay. I'll bring them out to you. So he loads this up into a bag. He loads the computers into a bag. He loads this flash drive into the bag. I know it doesn't, when I bounce it like that, it doesn't help you see it any better. What else? The power, all the power cables, and one more. Oh, one of these Macrim Reflect drives, because we had Macrim Reflect flash drive plugged in the computer, and this drive, which has the image of the base image computer. I'll call computer number 1. So now he brings it over. I have all this stuff here. Great. I can do this. So I start with the first computer. And the image fails to restore. I check mark the box that says verify before restoring. Verify the file before restoring. So I do that, and it fails the verify. I tried a couple times and it won't work, and I remove the verify before restore. I think it didn't work, but eventually I got it to work off of here. So now before he came out, I had him move this to the other computer so I could copy the Fabs Auto Backup files onto this flash drive. So I could have all of those. So this was going to have the image backup and the Fabs for all 3 computers. So I tried in the next computer, won't restore. Well, the first computer did restore. So I did some work with that. So I put in the next computer. I can't get it to restore on either of the other 2 computers. Just won't work, won't work, won't work, won't work. So then, next step is early evening. I say, okay, I will download the image backup from the base image computer. So I start that download. About 8 hours it takes to download that. Finishes sometime in the middle of the night. David Graham says, did you verify the image when you made the image master? Yes. Why? Phil Stodd says, why does that look like a USB adapter, not a flash drive? The reason why it looks like that is because this is one of those that slides, retracts. So yeah, I could see why you might think at a glance that that's an adapter. It's not, it's slides. Greg M says, can I mount the image? I did not even try. This story is not finished. The story is not finished. Now, where was I at? Okay, so after I was download the image, the next morning I restore that image to computer number 2. It works perfect. Beautiful. And did I restore that one to number 3? I think I did. Yeah, I did. So then I start working with number 2, and I realize, oh my God, don't tell me I did that. Stupid Doug. Oh, I realized a mistake that I had made. And this is after spending some amount of time of comparing this computer number 2 to the office computer number 2. And I'm thinking, why does this one have so many more icons on the desktop? And what I realized in a moment of genius, stupid genius, I had decided it would be a good idea to update the default profile on computer number 1. Zavine Manor knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say default profile. There's a different name for the program file name is defprof, so I always call it that, but there's some other name for it. Scott says everyone should get points for Doug laughing at himself. You gotta laugh at this stuff, right? John Williams says I'm rolling on the floor right now. So yeah, default profile. There's some other name. Zavi, if he's in chat, will give us that. It is for taking a current profile that you have on the computer and making it the default profile so that when you add a new user, it will take on all of the configuration settings that you had on that first user, such as how you've set up the taskbar, how you, what notification preferences, desktop icons, lots of all the stuff that's stored in the default profile. So I thought it'd be a good idea to update that. What I did not realize is it takes all of the current desktop icons and everything that's in the pictures folder and makes that the default profile. It does not take everything in the documents folder and make that the default profile. So now when I restored the Fabs Auto Backup image and I have Fabs Auto Backup create the new user account, that creation of the new user account uses the default profile and everything it contains, which means it inherited this new profile, this new username, inherited all of the desktop icons and all of the pictures and lots of other stuff that are on that first user's computer after it had been in use for a month. That's just too much to unravel. So, what to do next? Aha, computer number 2. Now, by the way, when I updated that default profile on that computer, that meant there were no other profiles on that computer that had the profile that I want. So, after a while, and taking a break, calming down, after a while, I realized computer number 2 in that office that I had already done the base image transfer for. I see that, Ken. Still might have that default profile that has the minimal configuration. So I connected remotely to it, or I tried to, but it was after hours. They didn't leave the computer on. Are you freaking kidding me? How many times I have asked them to leave all of the computers on every night. Wasn't on. My contact, the person that I'm working with, he's the one that I have asked to ask everybody to leave their computers on. His computer was not on, and his computer is one of the ones that I'm working on. So anyway, I get the computer turned back on the next day. Make a fresh image backup of that computer. And then last night, just when I made that backup image, last night, I started to download that over the internet. Over here, it is showing 5 hours remaining. I started that about 7 p.m. last night. Now it's showing 5 hours remaining. The first one that I copied the backup image over the internet took about 8 hours, something like that. This one was originally forecasting 12 hours. Now, I mean 24 hours. Now it looks like it's going to be a little bit less of that. John Williams, I'm literally on the floor, broke the leg on my office chair. I think I got to go turn the air conditioning on. I'm getting hot under the collar. Go take a break if you need it.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And fresh cold water. Now, where was I at? So this is downloading. When I discovered those problems, I said at the beginning of the show that it totally trashed my productivity. The good news is, after I thought about it for a little while, I really haven't had all that much time down the drain. And the end result will still be less time consuming. I won't be charging my client for the extra time lost due to my lack of foresight and mistakes. Now, this flash drive, I think what I'm going to blame this on is the quality of the drive. When I did a, oh yeah, that's what the label is. I did a speed test with Crystal Disk Mart, and it's 137 megabytes per second. I had purchased this flash drive specifically for this process, but we wound up using his flash drive, which was a 128 gigabyte drive. This one's a 256 gigabyte drive. I have not done a speed test on that. Can I disconnect? Let's see. I just want to check and see what state this computer is at. Yeah, I can pull that. This one, I get 400 megabytes per second. It's the Silverstone enclosure, and it's a SATA M.2 in there. So I obviously get better performance with that, worse performance with this. But this is the one that failed to do restores for me. It did eventually restore on one of them, but I couldn't get it to work on the others. And I didn't trust it very much. Because I didn't trust it, I was intending to do a restore from some other media once I found that it wouldn't work on these. But then once I discovered that the image that I had on here had the problem with the profile that had too many icons on the desktop, well, that meant I wasn't going to use it anyway. I wasn't going to use that image anyway. Now, I think there were 3 major things with that office that caused me productivity problems. I couldn't get this to work right. They weren't leaving their computers on, but I don't think that was one of the 3. The problems with restoring from this, I'll call that 2. And The third, oh, my mistake with the Fabs auto backup and, well, no, not the Fabs auto, the default profile. My mistake on that. Now this office, I've done several of this base image restoring process already for this office, and it works really smooth. But this office is only a 10-minute drive away. I have done some work with the nano KVMs. I have 3 nano KVMs. So the last time I did 2 of their computers, I had 2 of them set up in their office with the nano KVMs, and I went straight to Macrim Reflect, restored the image from the other flash drive, and then copied the Fabs Auto Backup profile through the network and got a very current Fabs Auto Backup from them. Whereas this office, their Fabs Auto Backup is going to be a few days old. Not a huge deal. And that's working really smooth, saving boatloads of time. And going through the whole out-of-box experience for all of those, taskbar, notifications, sleep settings, power settings, installing Chrome and installing Microsoft 365 and network drives and the user account and password, their Google Chrome profile, their Edge profile, their specific law office software. Oh, going through that for I'd rather go work at McDonald's. Seriously, I do not like that monkey work. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody if you're into that. Doing that on 1 or 2 computers for an office, fine, but not at volume. Oh my gosh. Arnold Albert, looks like a question there, but why not make a clone of the first successful restore you did at home and use it for PC 2 and 3, then load the individual profiles as needed? That's not a bad idea. That is a reasonable idea. So make a backup image of that first one. I think if I considered that, and I think I vaguely considered that, and I think I probably would have dismissed it because I don't really trust that image restore after it was so problematic to get it to restore on that one computer and then would not restore on the others. Now, of course, that image had the bad default profile, so I would have wound up undoing that anyway. But that was a good, decent idea. And let's give you a little bit of points for that. All right. Research and looking, comment about a job there. I guess that means, I'm going to guess that, but yeah, looks like it was a conversation about Ken Stout still looking for a job. Look at Ken Stout, still sitting on that #1 crown. Did I cover all of that? These are notes for each of those computers. Because I might get interrupted, I make notes about where I'm at with each computer so that when I come back, it's easy to pick it up again. I don't make those notes on one of my computers, like in Microsoft OneNote, because I don't need to keep those notes of work in progress. Did anybody come up with another question from chat? Since that is the priority around here, is questions in chat. Or by email or by comments. You are one busy tech genius. Kind words, John. Thank you. Oops, gotta get the
Chat,
right
please.
John. John Williams. Very kind of you. Oh, what about that drive from me? Me who? M-E. Mississippi. No. Massachusetts. No. What state is M-E? What state is M-E? I don't know. Okay. All right. That's what state is Ken Stout's drive? Somebody else asked about Ken Stout's drive. I saw somebody else ask that. Are you going to replace your Lexar drives with? Oh, that wasn't my Lexar drive. That was my client's. I don't have any reason to like or dislike Lexar, but I certainly don't like that drive. A drive from me, and oh man, mostly for that stuff use redundant. Not sure what that was about. Try using SanDisk drives. Yeah, mine are right. That's what mine are. SanDisk. Yeah. Got a bunch of them because I like the little form factor. What is the status of the drive? Oh, that's Ken Stout was the other person that asked about it. What is the status of the drive that Ken Stout Live sent you? Asking for a concerned citizen. Okay, let's go there. The drive sent to me by Ken Stout is 8 terabyte drive that he was unable to access. Oh, there's the V Minor. Sorry for the late answer. Yeah, that was TransWiz. I am getting the user that is running. It is only user that is assigned. With TransWiz, I assume he means for DefProf. I think TransWiz has some other programs besides DefProf. I'm not sure if I'm right about that. He might clarify. I am getting the user that is running. It is only user that is assigned. All right. Yeah, what I did originally when I set up their first base image computer is I did the whole out-of-box experience. I added the user name for the first person. I performed only the user configurations and the network configurations that I wanted replicated to the other users. I did not bring Fabs Auto Backup to that user yet. I configured all the stuff that I wanted to be used for subsequent users that would be created. And then I used, you create another admin user. You log in as that other admin user. You bring up a command prompt in administrator mode, and you switch to the directory where you have the program called DefProf. You type DefProf space, and then the user profile name that you want its current state to become the default profile. So then after that, any additional users that I add would inherit all those characteristics that were existing at that point in time. I did not know. Later, when I decided it would be a good idea, since there's been 2 months spread between that first, well, doing the second computer and these other 3, I got this bright idea that it would be a good idea to update the default profile. So I went to that first user, ran the DefProf again against that first user's profile, and that brought all of their desktop icons, all of their picture files, and whatever else that DefProf brings into the default profile. So then after that, every new user had everything. Fortunately, I had that computer number 2 that still had the default profile that I originally configured that was slim and lightweight. So finish up that piece. Now let's go on to Ken Stout. Brian Lightfoot, hello there. Announces his memberships for 3 months. You can do that. Hit yourself in green like that by hitting the dollar symbol. And then I think you have to have a third item on there. I think that's right. Then there's a thing in there that shows how long you've been a member. I don't get that menu option because I'm not a member. Employees don't qualify for that. And Ken Stout announcing his membership for 7 months. Ken Stout, aka, I can almost remember the woman's name on Hee Haw. Howdy. The character's name. I won't have a chance at recognizing the actress's name. Minnie Pearl, Brian Lightfoot says. Yeah, Phil Stodd, Ken Stout. Brian Lightfoot was first. Let's throw him some love. Pointavos. I didn't even have to ask. Okay. Ken's Drive. 8 terabyte. Special use drive that he couldn't access. He dealt with the data. I don't know. Wasn't concerned about it. And I said, I'd like to see what I can do with it. Said, I'd like to give it a try with SpinRite. So yesterday or the day before, I'm not sure, recently, I found a computer that would work with SpinRite. A little bit of a challenge. The first 2 computers I had wouldn't work, and I think it was because they had Optane. That's not a good thing. You have to have a computer that can do legacy BIOS. So I did 2 computers. I decided I didn't want to start with Ken's Drive because it was 8 terabyte. And I knew there was a little bit of challenge with over 2 terabytes. Jim says a pox on Optane. Yeah, you did get a chuckle. All right. Points for chuckle. So I did a 500 gigabyte drive first that I knew had some trouble. Yeah, I don't know. That one's not here. It was getting some high, so with some count was high in crystal disk info. So I ran it and it came up really good, clean and usable. So that showed me how the thing operates. Phil Stodd says, just to be sure, none of these computers have encryption enabled on the drive. I guess you're talking about the new computers, and no, they don't have that. What did you run at SpinRite level 2? There's no issue over 2 terabytes with SpinRite 6.1. The thing that there is an issue with is you have to be using a BIOS that is capable of, is it LBA mode? I think it is. So if you're using a computer where its BIOS is not capable of that, then you can't get over, I think it's 2 terabyte. And if you have too new of a BIOS, some of them can't do legacy mode. And yeah, so no, I'm not having trouble with level 2. So let's bring it up. Here it comes on screen. Here is SpinRite up and running on Ken Stout's drive. This screen is basically the default screen while it's operating. Right now it's highlighting maintenance read in the upper left. In a moment, it's going to move to data recovery, most likely. It usually does. It took a while before it was doing any data recovery. It was just maintenance read for a while. When it goes to data recovery, it'll briefly be there as it is now in data recovery. We can see raw data snapshot. Then it goes to update smart data. So it updates the smart data. Now, I also had a problem getting the computer to boot at all, even only from the flash drive when this drive was connected. So I had to disable an item in BIOS that allows it to skip smart data. Because when it hit the smart data would say, nope, this drive's bad, and it would not boot to anything else as long as that drive was connected. So I had to disable that in BIOS. So currently the only things that are connected is Ken Stout's drive and the flash drive. The normal internal drive of this computer is disconnected. Greg M says, okay, that problem drive is really bad. Yes, it is. How bad is it? I'll give some of you a little bit of time to say in chat what you see on the screen that either says, oh, maybe it's not so bad, or maybe you see something that says, oh, it's really bad. Let me turn off my picture for a brief time. A command timeout in that bottom right rectangle. Command timeout says 0. COM cable error is 0. Skip over minor troubles. Dynastat recovery says 0. Command aborted 0. Not recoverable 0. Sectors never found 0. Defective sector 0. A bunch of zeros, so those are good. Minor troubles. Minor troubles is 3,447. That doesn't sound like a big deal, does it? They're minor. Sounds like maybe a high number. In the bottom left, total bytes exferred, total bytes transferred. As I take it, that is the data recovery occurring, where SpinRite is finding bad data and moving it. You can see when it goes to that data recovery briefly, it's just there. That's when the number jumps for total bytes exferred. So what I'm understanding that to be is it's reading the bytes. Well, it's also, those numbers are increasing on maintenance read also. So I stand corrected there. But I think if everything was good, that it wouldn't be transferring. I'm not certain about that. Transfer block size just changed. Greg says, if you press spacebar, how many red squares on the entire drive? Yeah, we're gonna go through the rest of the screens. I'm going to use right arrow key to go to the next screen. Whoops, wrong keyboard. So here's the next screen, detailed technical log. This is a level 2, it identifies in the upper left. Do I have an active mouse here? No, SpinRite doesn't have an active mouse. So the second section from the top, it's every time that number changes where it says sector number, it's not changing that number, it's that the screen is scrolling up one. The new item is down at the bottom. So it's showing a sector number. It's showing what percentage of the drive has been checked so far, 0.6%. Hello, John. John says, dig dug. All right. After a minor problem reading this sector occurred and a repeated attempt succeeded. Whoa, good news. The repeated attempt succeeded. That's good news, right? This sector has been rewritten. So that seems to confirm, left arrow, that this bottom left corner is about exferred. That's stuff rewritten. But this is happening pretty often. if you look at the sector numbers, they can jump by pretty big numbers. Now I'm going to press up arrow key to scroll up. Let me turn off my picture. There's a scroll box on the bottom right. As I press the up arrow, you see that scroll box go up and up and up and up and up. So by looking at these sector numbers, sometimes it jumps by big numbers, tens of thousands. Sometimes it sticks in within a 1,000 range for a while. So there's 49,000. Hold down the up arrow. 48,000, 47,000, 46,000, 42, 21. So it did some bigger jumps there. So they aren't all, super sequential. But there's a lot of them. Okay, right arrow. Red blocks. Greg M. said the recovery screen is slow. Yeah, those errors are slowing it down. Let's see, minor. Yeah, Greg M was asking how many red squares on the entire drive. So here's some red squares. This is the really condemning part. The relocated sectors, which is the second line of red squares, that was all the way to the end when I started this process. Relocated sectors was completely done, gone, no more relocated sectors available. Now that doesn't mean 9 sectors. That doesn't mean 9 bytes. That 9, as my research says, is kind of a little bit arbitrary. The raw data number to the right of that, the 05FFF1, that's the hexadecimal value for relocated sectors. That's actually how many relocated sectors there are. If you take that number and convert it to a decimal number and then multiply that by the sector size, which I think is like 4,091 or 2,048. I don't actually know what the sector size is on this drive. But do that math and you find out how many actual bytes have been relocated. It's still less than 1%, but the factory determines how many relocation sectors a drive can have. And this has exceeded all of them that are available. My research tells me that you cannot fix that. You cannot reset that. You cannot clear that. You cannot do anything about it. If there are no more relocate sectors available, you really can't rely on the drive at all for anything. And a format is useless. Ken Stout asks that. Yes, a format is useless because a format is not going to clear those. Greg M says, I don't think I've ever seen negative numbers. Yeah, at first, the relocated sectors, I think it said -9/9. I don't think the right side of that slash was negative when it started. And disk part won't do anything to it either. Let's go show you some video of the early runnings of this. I'm looking for it. Yeah. So I recorded all of this. So here, this video is called Spin Right Experience First 2 Drives. Okay, so here I'm going to pause here. When I have this drive attached to the computer, right up here, you see Western Digital. That is the original boot drive in this computer. This computer was replaced to get my client up to Windows 11 by replacing the computer. Yeah, and I just checked my label on it, my note, to confirm that that drive was still functional, that computer was still functional. With Ken Stout's, no, this wasn't Ken Stout. Yes, this is Ken Stout's drive, connected. Capable and status bad. Right there is the first sign of trouble. Trouble in River City. auto-detecting USB mass storage devices. Then down here, hard disk smart, status bad, backup and replace. Yeah, like you could do that. You can't. But smart status says it's bad. BIOS says, I'm not going any further with this. Nope, nada, nothing. We're done. The computer will not boot in any fashion whatsoever. Oh. I don't think you just heard that. I just heard my voice playing on that audio. I don't think you heard that. Could you somebody confirm for me that you did not hear me say this is person's name at client's office computer? I'd like to know that you did not hear that. Ken says no audio from video. Good. I did that right. So now I have that audio muted, so I won't be hearing it in my ear.
No way.
Scott says no. Thank you. Rick says no. All right. I'm going to scrub forward a bit. Okay, so then when it tells me to press F1 to resume, here's what happens. I get this message, reboot and select proper media device. And then if I press a key, it just does that again and again and again. So then, let's see, this is going to boot into Windows. I don't want to show you that because this is booting into my client's computer now. I had disconnected Ken's drive in order to do this. And I did that so that I could get to BIOS. So I'm trying to get to BIOS. To show you what I had done. Here's the BIOS screen to give you an idea of what generation computer we're looking at. And take that off screen while I look for the place that I want to tell you is about. Okay, so here, yeah, let's show you this piece. Here I go into boot priority and I'm changing the boot priority. Press enter on the first one, change it to the removable device. Go to the second one, which is CD-ROM, and I think I changed that to disable. And then, yeah, so disable everything else. So the only thing it can boot from is the flash drive. Save configuration and restart. So I can show you this as it's restarting. It's an Asus computer, as you discover there. Now, here we still have hard disk, smart, status bad, backup, and replace. It won't boot to the flash drive, if I remember correctly. Now I'm taking that off screen again to see what I go to next. Yeah, so here I'm back in BIOS. And I think I had an idea what to change at this point. So I go into that configuration of that drive and go down to smart monitoring. It's set to auto. Press enter and change that to disabled. Oh, and here you can see LBA large mode. This BIOS supports large mode LBA, which means I can do, I think 2 terabytes is the breaking point for that. If you didn't have LBA, then you couldn't do over 2 terabytes. I might be wrong about that number. That's what my memory tells me. So save configuration. So now what happens? Again, wants me to insert boot device, but it did not give me that message. So I'm still not getting booted on the flash drive. Is there confirmation here that I had it connected at this point? I don't know. This doesn't look like I have the flash drive connected right now. What am I doing in here now? I don't know. I'm going to scrub forward. I have to take it offline to scrub forward because I don't know what comes up next. What did I do there? Let's see. I'm going to go back to here. Smart monitoring disabled. What am I doing here? Because I'm looking at this because it goes to a screen next that I was surprised to see. Okay, that's Ken's drive, Seagate 8 terabyte. You can tell by the model number. A little bit forward of this, it does that smart drive objection again, but I have that disabled. What did I do in here? Oh, here, load setup defaults. That's why. Yeah, at this point,
please.
I got the idea that that I might be having trouble booting to the flash drive because of something about, I figured I'd load defaults. John Williams says, move to boot and see if flash drive is visible. This is a video, John. John, I can't move to a different option. I'm playing you a video of a prior recording that I did. You missed that earlier. So here's the SanDisk. Now the SanDisk is connected. It's showing now. I don't think it was showing on the prior screen until I did that defaults. And there, because I loaded defaults, it switched back to the smart status. All right, so now I think I realize that, and I go back to fix that. So I'm going to take that off screen for a moment, find the next place worth of significance, because I've shown you enough here that I had a little bit of struggles here. Okay, so here this one gives what he was just asking for. There shows the SanDisk drive. I don't think that showed up until I loaded defaults. I think it was still physically plugged into the computer, but didn't show up in here until I did the load defaults. If I didn't do it already somewhere in here, I go back and change that smart thing again. Is this it here? I'm about to do it now. Yeah, smart monitoring got reset to default, to auto. So I'll bet you I'm about to change that again. Come on, Doug, you can do it. Come on, up arrow once, just up arrow once. I might have walked away from the computer at that time, so I'm going to take that off screen and scrub forward. Yep, I'm scrubbing quite a foot. There, I just moved to the word auto. So it's playing now. Come on. I wish this VLC had hotkeys for speeding up. You can click some buttons to speed it up, but it doesn't have hotkeys for that. Scrubbing forward. Oh, I went over to Gemini and had some conversation with Gemini about it. Scrubbing forward. All right, here I got a reboot going. I didn't see where I changed it again. I must have changed it at some point. That went through really fast. Let's try to catch that. See if I could, if I were to upload this to YouTube, then I can have my really nice hotkeys where I could speed up and slow down and pause really easy. VLC doesn't do that. Okay, so that's paused. I'm clicking play just briefly because this next screen goes through so quick. Auto detecting IDE hard disk. There. Perfect. USB mass storage device found and configured. So that, and there shows SanDisk. And checking NVRAM. So there's no smart reporting showing up here.
Read.
And then
Chat, please.
it loads FreeDOS kernel, which is the SpinRite boot operating system. Zvibanor says video LAN hotkeys. So maybe it's got an answer for me about that. Whoops. No. Okay. I will be. All right. Moving on. God. Doug, you dope. All right. Moving on. Zvi's got a link there. I'll bring that up. I'm not going to go run down that now. Jumping. Okay, good. Good. I will study up on those. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. That is huge. Look at that. There's no chat anywhere. Why? Why? Why do I keep losing that? Okay. Zvi. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it very, very much. Throw some points at you. What is going on? I'm using Alt-Tab to try to switch to a different screen. Hold the Alt-Tab key down. Hold the Windows key down. Alt key. Hold the Alt key down. Tap Tab multiple times. And what was happening? Holding the Alt key down, I hit Tab, and I'm trying to go to hit Tab again, and it just stops on one screen. All right, getting into SpinRite. Okay, here's what it starts with. Testing system RAM. This isn't actually the first screen, but testing system RAM. And you read through this, and it says you need to know that we have good functional RAM, but it only uses the first 50 megabytes of RAM. And then, then the video went on to the next element. I need to be pausing this. Discovering systems mass storage devices. So it's working on that. I'm going to have to keep taking this off screen. As I've looked around in YouTube videos, I found many of the larger YouTube channels doing videos about SpinRite, but they're kind of fluff. They're just kind of high level talking about it. I haven't seen anyone actually showing it. That's all I'm looking to do. This is my experience. I'm just showing how it's going. So here's, after it detected, it found the Ken Stout's Seagate drive. And it's red, I think, because it's highlighted right now. I don't think the red is indicating there's a problem with it. And then here's the 15 gigabyte boot drive, the flash drive. I'm running that video forward. It shows us the serial number for it. Then here's the next screen. I have the video paused. Currently selected level 2. Level 2 is the most often used to perform emergency data recovery at high speed, carefully scans media to locate, then deeply recover, completely repair trouble regions of the drive. Level 3 is going to take longer. Level 3 is the most often used for spinning drive long-term maintenance, reads and writes the drive's entire storage media, so it is half the speed of lower levels. Rewriting spinning drives is good for them, but it's not recommended for SSDs, hybrid, or SMR. If you're using SpinRite for data recovery, you may now press 2 to set SpinRite level 2. If you're using SpinRite for spinning drive maintenance, press 3. And press enter to select other options. I think I do that. If I don't do it now, I do it later. And I can go do that live. Okay. Okay, this screen is checked. Here we're highlighting. Here's saying that scan time is going to be 256 hours for this 8 terabyte drive. Over here, we're on the tab called Drive Info. So all this is Drive Info. There's no scroll box on the right. You could also look at hardware and look at Smart Stats. This gives us information about the drive. Nothing there I need to point out. Oh, yeah. This is a little bit of a learning curve. I probably said, yeah, when selections are correct, press enter. So this is probably what I got when I pressed enter. Nothing has been selected for SpinRite to do. One or more items must be selected for SpinRite to operate upon. To do this, after pressing escape to remove this message, use the up-down arrow to highlight any item you wish to change, then press the space bar. So I had missed doing that. Right here it says press space to flip the selection on or off. Playing it forward again. Okay, so now I've got a check mark on this one here to indicate that I want to do something with that drive. Okay, so here's where it starts. It gives me this graphic screen display, and click play, and it starts working on it. So you see all these numbers going. I haven't shown you this screen yet live. What's going on at this screen? Let's go do that. Let's see. I'm going to do studio mode to be sure I do this right. I'm looking through the screens. Okay, I think we're good. So here's the screen we left off at. I'll turn off my picture-in-picture. At the bottom shows temperature 104 Fahrenheit, 40 Celsius. Right arrow key goes to the next screen. Diagnostic system is not currently processing and recovering unreadable data. When it's called into service, the system will present. It hasn't done any of this Diagnostic yet. Press escape to remove this message, and it shows this graphic of SpinRite's buffering systems just as a pastime. I don't quite understand what's going on there. On the left-hand side shows bit numbers. On the right-hand side shows bit numbers, whatever. If I do left arrow key and comes back to that, yeah, those numbers are just continuing. And then right arrow key, we're in operation level 2, and I could actually change the operation level. As I understand, I could change it live. We read about level 1 and level 2, but there's what level 1 does. I mean, level 2 and level 3 is what we were reading about. So then there's, if I highlight, can I highlight one? Oops. Yeah, I can. There's a description of what that does. I'm not going to read it out loud. And then we already read through 3, and then there's what level 4 does. There's what level 5 does. As I understand it, these are progressively longer and longer operations. So then right arrow key. This
Read chat, please.
This just bounces around to prevent screen burn-in. Zvi sent me an email. I got that. And then here's what's going on at that point. Remember how many hours that it said it was going to take? It was like 256, I think. Look at how many hours are remaining now. 7,245. Yeah. Not going to do that. This morning at 8 a.m. this morning, that number was 4,134. So it's not going the right direction. And that's how many boxes, that's how many sections have been cleared. Now, as I understand it, if I quit the process at this point and then restart it, if it clears those 6 boxes pretty quickly, then that would indicate those rewrites have held and that there is not continuing damage or problems in that area of the drive. And that if we didn't have the relocated sectors problem, maybe the drive would be reusable. I know, just buy a new drive. It's technical curiosity, it's learning, it's education. That's why I go down this road. I never know what education might wind up being useful until later. If I quit this operation and then start it again, and it is finding additional problems within these same first 6 boxes, or otherwise known as these sector numbers, then that would indicate there's continuing problems and that there's no way this drive could be utilized. So yeah, there's absolutely nothing to be done with this. Yeah, let's see. I got to see what screen is next. Ah, that just gets back to here. Whoops. Oh. That gets back to here. So that gets through all of those screens. Right arrow gets back to this one. Right arrow, right arrow, right arrow, right arrow, right arrow. So that gets you all the way around the horn. Oh, you know what? The first drive, I don't think I actually recorded it, apparently. And let's turn that off. Come back to here. And I think we're about ready to shut down. Yeah, well, less than 1 minute to go for my show time. Less than 8 seconds. I'm going to scroll through looking for orange. I think I've hit all the read chats. Yeah, that was a whoops. There will be consequences to that. Move to boot and see if a flash drive is visible. What is this? Parliamentary procedure? Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. I move to boot. Oh, he wanted me to go to the boot option when he thought that I was live in a BIOS. Ken says, thanks for taking time to look into that for me. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for sending me the drive. Unfortunately, nothing can be done. I'm going to take just a little bit more time here to document
Read
this.
chat, please.
Oh, email. Okay, I'll get that. I'm looking for that. I got a hunch I know what it is. Oh. Okay, well, your second sentence, I didn't realize that, but you did accurately understand what I was concerned about. I'll go back and take a look at that. But he did know exactly what my concern was. We might talk about that in a future video.
Yes, affirmative.
Not going to talk about it now. Oh, that's awesome if that was right. Let's see. Oh, let's see. I'm checking on something else here. Oh. Curious. What are you talking about, Doug? We don't know what in the world you're talking about. As if I was going to tell you that. Let's see. What do I do there? Yeah, I'm doing something here I'm not going to tell you about. Just because it's my rules and I can do that. All right, what's the name of that tune? Oh, I gotta get over here. So there is something else that I want to show and document. Okay, this is the conversation that I had with Jim and I while working on this. I'm not going to read through it all. I'm probably not even going to stop and explain or make even commentary. What I'm going to do is just display each part of this on the screen briefly. That way, if somebody wants to read more, I got a whole lot of education out of this. Learned a whole lot of things about some of this technical mumbo jumbo that I'm probably never going to use for anything productive. But like I said, I like learning stuff, even if it's stuff that I learn only for the purpose of forgetting it later, which I usually do. So just pausing long enough on each of these. Here's the LBA 48 where I'm confirming that in there somewhere confirms that. I said I wasn't going to comment on things. And then you get Gemini's response. I have found the AIs to be pretty darn good with these technical topics. Lousy if you're asking how to do something in a particular software program. But talking about technical topics that are pretty well established as far as general knowledge. Well, not general because general public, but I mean technical knowledge. This stuff is not really in contention or argued. But I got a lot of education out of this, a lot of aha moments. So if you're interested, you can go back and pause the video and read all that. That's all. Oh, John again with Dig Dug. Oh, that's not again. That's just where I was at. I think I looked at all of the oranges. We're about to end this. Yeah, we covered that. All right, we're good there. That's all. Okay. I got work to do. I am planning to go to the cabin still this week. All right, everybody. I want you to have a great weekend. And this is going to be a shorter version of the outro with a little twist. There's going to be a bunch of blank space at the end because tomorrow I'm going to add those, click things at the end of the video. You're welcome, John. See you, Zvi. Thank you, Scott. And here we go. One shot for my email address for you to ask questions. That button. All right.